Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. As always, it is Nick here, back with your daily crypto news and analysis. And today, I'm doing a dual live stream with Encrypt30. If you guys are in the Discord, you guys are aware of who he is. If you want to go follow him on Twitter, his @ is Encrypt30. And he does incredible, technical analysis for the Crypto Crusaders Discord for free. And today we're actually going to be talking about the possible breakout that QNC could be having here shortly. I'm going to go and look at the chart that was sent in the Discord by Encrypt30. This is showing the OBV volume compared to the price action. Nick, if you want to go and take it over, it's kind of weird saying Nick, but it's all good. So, all right. If you want, you could unmute your mic and you can kind of explain the chart itself on what you sent him.
Sure. Perfect. There we go. Okay. Yeah, so what we've got, a 3-day chart, what I'm looking at here. I've put it as basic as I possibly can, to be fair. So I put two areas. So we've got the 89.8 zones, that's a 3-day support region. And then we've got the 150.6, which for me is the 3-day resistance region. So OBV, on balance volume, is currently trading at a higher rate than when we were at all-time high, which that means that cumulatively the volume is inflown into the currency as opposed to out of the currency, which provides that additional strength. I want to talk a little bit about the pattern I've got out. So I actually see this as being a potential inverse head and shoulders. Now, a lot of people, when they first come into crypto, will see an inverse head and shoulders, and it's probably the first pattern that you'll probably be looking at. Now, I'm going to give you a couple of rules as to why this head and shoulders potentially could work, as opposed to any other head and shoulders that you look at and you think, oh, you've got your two shoulders on your head, and that's down to volume, okay? So this is how I personally use this pattern. It has a much, much higher success rate. So first of all, the left shoulder has to be the largest sell volume. So that would be the impulsive volume to the low. Now on the 3-day, you probably can't see it as well, but what I'll do is I'll share my screen in a minute and we'll go through the daily as well, and I'll show you exactly what I'm seeing. The price into the head should be the lowest sell volume overall. So that's generally what you call like an accumulation range. Now we have got two areas, which I think was around May 10th and May 7th to May 10th on this chart, where the volume does actually spike. Now at that point, obviously Bitcoin was playing games, so I'll actually counteract that, and I'm not too fussed about that volume, and I'll totally ignore it. Now the third rule that I use is the volume increasing from the bottom back to the neckline, right? So you want to see a cumulative volume, so the volume rising as the price action rises with it, which we've got on this chart as well. Then as it hits the neckline, the right shoulder needs to be the lowest overall volume, which is quite clear that's the case in this situation. Now what I'm looking for here is a breakout above the neckline, right? Now the breakout needs to be more volume than the right shoulder, and ideally it needs to be a thrust. This specific type of head and shoulders is probably the best type of head and shoulders to play a trade from. There's 3 areas that you're potentially going to get a liquidation cascade. So the first area you'll get will be around 133, because you'll have stop losses in that area. You'll then have another set of stop losses on the left shoulder second touch, which is around the 150 to 153 region. And then finally, all stops would most likely be taken out by 162.6. So what I mean by a thrust is that when margin trades are closing out trades, you'll generally see them flip the opposite way and they'll flip bullish and cover their position. So that's what I'm expecting to happen here. And with the OBV as strong as it is currently, especially on the higher time frame, I think it's quite clear that this is one of, if not the strongest setup at the moment that I'm seeing.
Yeah, and I do see the chat real quick. If you want to go in depth on this chart, because I know that what you're saying to most people is just kind of it's going in one ear and going out the other. So if you
Sure.
want, we could really kind of go in depth on this chart and really kind of talk about why this is extremely bullish, especially for a major trade opportunity.
Okay, yeah. So with a inverse head and shoulders, it's generally a reversal pattern. I think that's the first and foremost thing, and what I would say is the most important thing to look at. Also, with it being above support, so I don't. You'll get a lot of people, especially on like crypto Twitter and that will be trading based on 5 minute charts, 15 minute charts, hourly charts. I don't trade those type of setups. I look more for high time frame charts. Now, the
Hmm.
reason for that is the success rate is much greater. It's easier to manage risk, and you have clear invalidation points.
Yeah, and I actually think that with the price chart being set up like this during this time is actually extremely bullish for also the events that are coming up. I don't know if you said that you weren't really paying attention to the fundamentals all that much, but for anyone that
Sure.
is in the live stream that isn't aware of the two major events coming up, in fact, Crypto Nerd over on Twitter did share this with the QuarterCon and also the Cbos event coming up. These two are extremely bullish because Quant will be represented at both of them, and they are all talking about traditional finance and DeFi, as well as the major opportunity for digital assets, which we all know that interoperability is 100% needed for a lot of that. So I do believe that Quant will come up in discussion. There's going to be probably a lot of announcements from that. There's also going to be a lot of speculation for QT to actually run on. So with the volume and the strength on the chart, all kind of plays into a perfect setup for these two specific dates, which is September 27th, so in 2 days, and then Cbos is on October 10th to the 13th. But I'm going to let Encrypt take over here, and we're going to look at his screen. Let me go widescreen on this so that you guys can see it. If you are ready, take over. It's loading up. It always takes forever. I always hate Discord because of that. Are you having issues over on your end with this? Okay. I think that we are having a little bit of a technical issue. I don't know if you are able to. Let me see. Um, I don't know if it's gonna work. Invite Bearable Bull. Dude, I would love to, honestly, if it would be a part of it. So yeah, Discord's having a little bit of an issue.
I
All right. So
have no idea what's going on here.
it's honestly probably Discord. I was having issues with it as well. So if you want to try sharing it again, you can.
Yeah, I'll give it a crack.
Dude, Discord is so bad. It's terrible. All right, so yeah, we're having a little bit of technical difficulty. So while he is setting that up, I do want to talk to guys a little bit about the setup. Whenever you can share your screen, whenever it does work, just let me know. For the time being, I'm just going to share a few thoughts on the chart from my perspective as well. So yeah. Um, so real quick, in regards to so both of our names are Nick, which is kind of funny, but basically what Encrypt was talking about in regards to volume coming into Q&T at the moment that we are looking at this, you could see the OBV down here. So we had a major decline on the downtrend. There was still a lot of volume coming in because everyone was expecting this to kind of pop out a little bit more because the main point of 2022 was, okay, we're going to have a wave 5 on Bitcoin. And it's going to go to 160 well, like 160K. So all these assets, including Q&T, are going to pump extremely hard. One thing that I do want you guys to make note of is that on the 50 EMA, which is this orange line, which we have been trailing below since breaking down below it from peaking back in September, we are starting to actually break out of that. We are already above all EMAs. While volume is pouring in, as you guys do see the incline in volume that is higher than when we were at the all-time highs back here. volume is still looking pretty good here. RSI is still pretty neutral, so it's not overbought, it's not oversold, it's pretty neutral. All while the price action still looks pretty. I mean, it's sitting in a nice accumulation zone. Like he was saying, we came back down to test about like this. It's a demand channel on the 3-day. On the 3-day, this is the demand channel for QNT down here at about like 80 some. It's like $89, almost $90. I wouldn't really be dead set on that even being targeted, but between that and like the 130 some dollar level, that's the area that we are watching for a major breakout or breakdown. So if we do break out, this is the target point that we need to actually get a lot of volume in and push us above in order for this to flip into a bullish area. And after like $160, like that's the last level of major resistance on this chart until we do go extremely high and possibly even test, a new all-time high. But right now, there is quite a bit of bullish indicators on this chart. There's a lot of fundamental bullish events coming up for QNT as well. I think most of CT is not only extremely bullish on what Quant is doing, but also bullish on the major events coming up with Corticon and with CBOS, because most of the major players around the traditional financial markets will be playing into those events. And again, I always share with you guys that interoperability is always going to be the key, point for a lot of these tokens to be successful. And that's why I always say like QNT is the big bet on almost all of these other tokens, these DLTs being successful. But we've also been looking at the QNT Bitcoin price chart as well. We do have the last line of defense for bears here on this chart, but this has also been starting to peak out. You do see the OBV down there. It's kind of flat. It's almost like a flat here, but it still is increasing. So we want to actually see this OBV continue to increase. RSI here is a little bit overpeaked, but this is also because Bitcoin is pretty much stable at this point. We haven't really seen a lot of Bitcoin price action at all. So we are still watching the Bitcoin price chart for this, as well as the USDT, really kind of looking at them. Obviously, the USDT chart hasn't really caught up to the Bitcoin price chart simply because Bitcoin still is stable. But with that in mind, Nick, is Discord still being trashed, or what's going on with that?
Yeah, it won't let me share my screen. It just kicks me every time. But back to the Bitcoin chart point. I'll put some charts after we've spoke about, obviously, into the Discord so that people know what I'm talking about. But
Okay.
on the Bitcoin chart, we're at resistance on 3-day time frame for QNT. I'm looking at the Binance chart anyway, which I've got resistance at around 61, 66. But as soon as it clears that area, there's really nothing up to the all-time high on the Bitcoin chart. I mean, look, some would argue there's a little bit at 77, 78 region, but to be honest, it's not a lot. And I would be surprised if we got any sort of pullback from there. I think if it goes through this area here, it's going to rip. Finally, as well, I put a link in for OVV, so if people want to do a little bit of read up on it, I'll put it into the chat. But I'll give just a brief overview on it, just for those that are listening, on what on-balance volume actually is, because we've talked quite a lot about it, but haven't really explained what it is. So on-balance volume is what provides a running total of assets that are trading on the volume and indicates whether the volume is either flowing in or flowing out. So it's cumulative as well, so that's whether it's positive or it's negative, okay? Now, the 3 rules implemented when calculating is if, for example, today's price closes higher than yesterday's price, then the current on-balance volume, or OBV, would be yesterday's OBV plus today's volume. If, for example, today's closing price is lower than yesterday's closing price, then the current OBV would be yesterday's volume minus today's volume. And then the third one is if today's closing price equals to yesterday's closing price, then the current OBV is the same as yesterday's OBV. So that just gives a brief overview. But I put a link in there in the chat anyway for those that want to do some in-depth research on that specific indicator.
Is that link in the Crypto Crusaders Discord?
No, I put it in the chat on this stream, but I'll put it in there as well. Yeah, no problem.
Okay, yeah, that works. Is it in? Let me. They said that you put it in the. Was it able to send? I know that sometimes there's like no links allowed. Because if you want, I could actually. If you want to link it in here, I could throw it in the chat. Because I know that YouTube has like restrictions on that. But Yeah, and also, today is the weekly candle close. So we are most likely going to see a lot more volatility. The weekly candle close is usually always sometimes most of the time we have been seeing a lot of kind of slowdown in regards to price action on Sundays. But I don't really kind of write them off because we will most likely see volatility, um, in the next couple weeks as well. Because I was just mentioning to Encrypt actually before we started this live stream that October usually is a bullish month for crypto. Um, in 2021, for example, when we were topping out back in November, October was still very exciting for most assets, including the notorious Casper. I mean, Casper ran to like about 20 some cents. But a lot of tokens were also running during that time. And even right now, we still see a lot of price action throughout the entire market for a lot of altcoins. Even reserve rights up, 45% on the 7-day span. XRP, which you guys are probably all aware of as well, up massive. So to me, Q&T has been lagging up, behind a little bit. It's still up decent, almost 11% on the 7-day span. But I do think that right now, with all of the setups that we are seeing on the price chart, with the events coming up, and with a lot of speculation behind Q&T as well. Like I've been looking on CT, and there's just like a ton of speculation on what Quant is doing with specific names. So I think that Q&T has almost every single, bullish indicator kind of leading to a major price action move here. Obviously I wouldn't get, too itchy on FOMO, but again, I still think that this is a great setup, and I think that, Encrypt as well has the same sort of idea here.
Yeah, for sure. Going back to the events and stuff, I've actually got a thing of upcoming events. So this is for a number of tokens from now until the end of Q4. So I'll pop that in as well because there's a few narrative plays, for example, you can play on that. For example, I know you mentioned that RSR there is up quite a lot. They've actually got their main net release on October 10th. So obviously, had you have known that prior to today's pump as such, you could have got in prior to that. Obviously, Atom as well is doing a run today, but they've got Cosmoverse conference starting tomorrow until the 28th. So it's good to do all this sort of research, especially if you're a trader. Get a little bit more information, and you can sort of play the narrative on those.
Yeah, and I really do think that everyone, that is a part of crypto should be paying attention to the events. I know some of them come off as like, all right, yeah, these events don't really mean much in terms of price action, but seeing speculation around these events. So here, for an example, I'll just pop this up on the screen. I'll copy it as well and paste it into the chat for everyone to go and check it out. But we have been watching a lot of these events around these tokens because although some of these events don't really mean much, you could look at this, but they all play into speculation. We've talked about this even with Zinfin with the Porto event, which we did see a lot of updates from. XDC has been a little bit lagging behind in terms of price action. It still is up a little bit, 10%. It's basically trailing behind Q&C. But all of these events do help speculation to kind of build. And if the chart could be, in a nice position, then guess what? You will still see a major speculative price action move on the chart, which I do believe that Q&T could also see that with these two events coming up, which I just recently talked to you guys about. I know I kind of sound like a broken record because I've even made a video on these two events as well, because I do think that these two are not only going to be bullish for Quant, but I think that they will be bullish for a lot of the tokens in the space because they are talking about traditional finance and DeFi, and then also just many digital assets. And we all know that Quant really isn't a blockchain network or so. It's more of an operating system for all of these tokens to be interconnected. But I still think that at the end of the day, we will see interoperability be spotlighted at both of these events simply because of what they are trying to discuss here. And also, pay attention to all of the events around London. I know that right now the Ripple Swell event is going to be happening in November, I believe, and that is based in London. A lot of the events are based in London as well. Blockworks is having a massive institutional grade event as well in London. The UK wants to be a major crypto hub, and it's for good measure as well. I mean, I do believe that they see the potential behind a lot of these assets. You could speculate on the utility behind a lot of them as well. But Quant, when we look at London, Quant has major ties to specific areas within the UK. They are even already on the UK government website for an interoperability layer. Again, there's a lot of bullish indicators around Quant. I could speculate all day on the major utility around it, but for now, we are watching the charts. We are making sure to pay attention to them. Um,
Absolutely.
one question for you actually, while we are live. So, where do you see this market bottoming? Because a lot of people think that November could be the bottom point for this market, going off of the technical time frame on when a bear market actually does end, and they are saying November could be the ending point.
Yeah, I try not to bother with time frames, if I'm totally honest. I just tend to look more at just the price action and what it's doing. Now, I mean, for example, this 2 week candle, which closes in 6 hours, is the highest amount of volume that we've had for, especially on Binance, for a long, long time. And we were looking at just on Bitcoin alone, we've had 4.4 million this week. I think we're close, if I'm honest. Could we go a bit lower? Yeah, we could go 14, 16k. But I think the likeliness is that the worst is behind us, to be
Hmm.
honest, at this stage.
Yeah, and I think that for everyone watching this, I'm just gonna tell you all my strategy that I've been utilizing right now, and that's I've even said it on Twitter as well. I was like, I'm 45% in positions, about 55% in stables, and a lot of people thought that that was crazy, but I've also been accumulating a lot of tokens. That figure has changed quite a bit. I would say that I'm about 55% in positions, 45% in stables now. I've been not only buying a lot of tokens, but I've been also eyeing a lot of tokens that haven't seen a major pop recently. QNT I have been averaging in. You guys are probably all aware of. I haven't bought any QNT as of recent. The last time that I did buy it was like around $100. I bought like 10 of them. But I don't really care if we go too much lower from here on out. I will average into those positions simply because I do have stables on the sideline. For anybody that is watching, I highly advise you not to go all in at one sort of price. Always average in and like DCA on the major dips. Don't just DCA every single day. I think that that's the biggest misconception around DCAing, because I could have DCA'd on QNT from January all the way to March, and then look at this massive price action move all the way down to about like 40 some dollars. I would have already been out of all of my fiat by that point, just waiting for QNT to go back to break even prices basically. So always make sure that you are waiting for the worst to happen in this market before averaging in. Average in on the major drops that you see, because like right now, and like what Encrypt said, I do believe that the worst, has already happened around this market. I don't think that we have much left in regards to bearish indicators. I mean, all throughout the summer, it was like it was end game for crypto. Like crypto was dead. It was done. I heard about the Mount Gox situation. I mean, it seemed like every other day there was a massive bearish event for crypto. And now a lot of that has kind of cooled off. We're seeing still a little bit of, FUD being thrown out from like Jamie Dimon and stuff, but ultimately, I would say that crypto at this current moment in time, there's a lot of average in positions to be taken. I think that as everything does sit, like I'm not gonna sit here and try to call the bottom. I don't really care for time frames as well. I figured I would just ask Encrypt about that just because I want to see his viewpoint on things, but for the most part, yeah, I really don't care if we bottom, any more from here. I mean, what's the lowest Bitcoin could actually go from here? Everyone wants us to go below, 10K. But I don't think that people realize the long term issues that arise if Bitcoin did go that low.
Yeah, I just don't see it, to be honest. We're going to have far greater problems than Bitcoin at 10k if it goes to 10k, to be honest. So that's just my outlook on it. But back to the QNT situation, I've had a look on chain as well, and just to give some perspective. So the exchange net position change, which is the 30-day change that's held on exchanges since July, is minus 3,000, 3.7 million. And total addresses from August 1st to now is roughly around 8,000 a month added.
Yeah, I was actually looking at because I know that CMC has the total addresses on here. In the last 1 month, this is going back to August 20. Is this? Yeah, August 26th. We were sitting at 65,130. As
And
of
when was that
today,
August what?
what was that?
What was that August the 26th, was it?
The 26th.
Yeah, nice.
So from August 26th to now, we have added roughly almost 3,200 new holding addresses,
Yeah, I've got it about the same.
which is pretty significant. I mean, I think during the 2021 run up, I think that we were sitting at around like 30 some thousand. So in little over a year, we have seen well over 30,000 new addresses added to QNT. That's significant for an asset like QNT that has the circulating supply that has the fundamentals that it has. I mean, to me, going into the next major, cycle, whenever that does happen, whatever the time frame is on the next major cycle, I really do believe that, short term, yeah, we have a great trade opportunity here, but long term, the upside on QNT is ridiculous. I mean, I've looked at the fib levels. I've looked at where we could go to. I've also compared it market cap wise to tokens that are just nowhere even near QNT's level. I mean, you could, I could argue that it could go to 5 to 10K in the next major cycle if I was going to throw out, prices. But to me, again, we're just eyeing the all-time highs at this point, which to the all-time highs, it's nearly a 4x from here, which is still
Yeah.
pretty crazy.
Yeah, after all-time highs, then you can start probably looking at the fib levels. To be fair, because at that point you've got your previous top and your previous bottom. But for argument's sake, if we were to look now after all-time high, you're probably looking at just under 700 probably. But I mean, we're months, maybe years away from that sort of level. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, and that's a major thing. Like everyone has their own argument point around this market, so everyone's perspective is going to be different. The biggest advice I could give to anyone out there that is following very large accounts on Twitter, pretty much slapping bars graphs on a chart and saying, "Hey, this is going to be the next major level." I highly advise you to all unfollow them. And that's not me being disrespectful or anything, but and I'm sure that Encrypt could also talk about this as well. We've seen so much trash being thrown out on CT just for followers. I
Oh,
could throw on the log scale on the fib level and say that QNT is going to go to $1 million next cycle. I mean, it just doesn't make sense to not only play into that type of garbage, but also give your engagement to that type of garbage either. Um, I do follow some great accounts. Everyone has their own ideas. Credible Crypto, for an example, has been, a great individual to really kind of pay attention to. I know that he has his own ideas about a Wave 5 happening in 2023. All I know is this. The next Bitcoin halving is in 2024. We have some incredible days, weeks, months, and even years ahead of us. And, if I have to wait a year, maybe 2 years to hit a 10x, 20x, who knows, 100x on some of these assets, then that is a wait that I'm willing to wait. And I mean, even in the short term, you could still make a ton of money on some of these major setups. And right now,
sure.
QT is looking great. Fundamentally, we all know that QT looks incredible. If you guys do want to learn more about some great setups and also learn more about charting and stuff, Encrypt is incredible at giving insights. He does a bunch of free stuff in the Discord, which I am very appreciative of. If you want to go check him out on Twitter, I highly advise you to go check him out at Encrypt30 over on Twitter. I linked it in. I'm actually going to send the link in the chat real quick for everyone to go check him out. Like I said, so much of the Discord has been kind of centered around his charts, and it's all been for free, so I really do appreciate that. But yeah, it's some great insights. He also has. Do you have a Discord for your DAO? I know that you are still working on that.
Yeah, I'm still working on it at the moment. I think the one big takeaway here is, especially for any new traders out there, don't overtrade, and don't look at anything under a daily chart, because you see a lot of stuff on Twitter where it's hourly charts and 15-minute charts, 5-minute charts. These guys that are putting these charts up are highly skilled. They've been around for years doing trading. Stick to high time frame setups. It's much easier for you to have a win percentage that's high. And it's also easier to find invalidation levels. But by doing hourlies, 15 minutes, 5 minutes, unless you're like a scalping expert, you'll get chopped up and you're constantly stopped out. So, if trading is something that you want to look into, start easy, start with the basics, and just stick to high time frame.
And stay away from futures.
Yeah, stay away from futures, for sure, yeah.
Yeah. I just made a video on MEXC, and yeah, I mean, I could easily tell you guys to go play with futures all day. I'm gonna be fully transparent with all of you. You earn about like 50% commission on futures trading, and it's not on the total volume; it's on the fees accumulated. I see so many people, saying go sign up for Bybit, go use the futures feature. If you are new to this market, if you have no experience trading, you have no experience reading charts, stay away from futures. Don't even put $20 in. Just stay away from it. Learn the charts. Try to make money just kind of trading, in the spot trading. Learn things with that. Then you can go and play with futures, because it is a very, very high volatile trading environment. And it is extremely risky. So please just stay away from futures and save yourself some money. Also, I see that someone's asking what's the Q&T total supply. The circulating supply on CMC is extremely wrong.
Yeah, it says 12 million, doesn't it? Or just over.
Yeah, it says 12 million over here. It's actually all of the supplies out there. So it's only 14.6 million. Like 14,612,493. That's the total supply. There will be no more Q&T out there, which again makes it a very lucrative investment vehicle over Bitcoin, for an example.
Certainly does.
But we have been live streaming for about 33 minutes. I'm going to leave the floor open for about, give or take, 5 minutes or so here. So anybody in the chat, if you do have any questions, anything that you do want to ask, anything that you want to hear, whatever, you could be free to ask them right now. We will be trying our best to answer any questions, anything that you guys have for us. So yeah.
And I'll try and get my screen to work next time.
Yeah, we do apologize for the technical difficulties, but Discord is trash, which I'm sure that a lot of you are probably aware of by now. Maybe next time we will. I don't know what we could use. I mean, I know I'm trying to think of like other platforms. The only ones I can think about for meetings is like Zoom and stuff.
And I've got Teams. You on Teams?
I am not, but I've heard that it is pretty good. So I might look into it. So we have a few questions here. Do you think that Q&T will go lower?
What, today's price?
Yeah.
No, for sure. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I mean, demand zone wise, you could actually kind of go and let me look at the Qcoin chart real quick. So on this time frame, this is the 3-day. Let me go to the. Actually, the 3-day should be fine. So I want to share with you guys a few insights that I have on the Q&T price chart. So this isn't like the one and done. Like we're not going to see under $100. We're going to the moon. Blah blah blah. No, that's not what's happening here. What we are looking at though is just a nice breakout to trade. I see a lot of people saying on Twitter, selling Q&T doesn't go together. You can't sell Q&T. You shouldn't sell Q&T. It's a sin to sell Q&T. Stop listening to that maxi mentality. It will only get you, hurt in the short term. You could always sell whatever token and rebuy lower. It's a perfect, trading opportunity to do so, especially when everyone is getting extremely bullish. I seen this happen with XRP when it hit almost $2. People were saying it's going to $10 tomorrow. It's going here, and you could easily get caught up in those euphoric moments. But at the end of the day, that's the time where you want to sell, when everyone is getting extremely greedy. But nonetheless, the levels that I have been watching on QNT is around like the $89 level, which if we don't see a significant price move off of that range, the next major demand zone would be around, it's a rough area. I mean, it's mainly like $67, somewhere within that range, 67 to possibly even the low that we recently had, which I don't think that we come back down to $47. I mean, that's just my opinion. I don't think that we see $47. I could definitely see like 50 to 60 possibly being tested, but again, like 50 is a little bit of a stretch. I would more so look at like the $62 level, within like the $62 to $89 level. Anything under $100 seems fair to me, just in the short term and even in the long term. But it's ultimately up to what you guys want to buy within, because I know everyone has different financial situations. So you want to try to get in on the lowest point possible. I've been really kind of seeing if $67 is going to be tested. I know everyone has this idea that QNT is never coming back down to these levels again. Anything is possible. This is crypto at the end of the day. We could have a black swan event happen tomorrow, and it could push the prices here, there, wherever. I've still been looking at $67. And if, Encrypt has different ideas on where the demand range is on QNT, he's more than welcome to also talk about that.
You're pretty much bang on, to be honest. I mean, there's a 3-day imbalance at 64, which will get tested eventually. It's just a case of whether we break out first. But if anybody wants a long-term option, I think the $60 to $80 range is quite a good area. I would imagine we'll see quite a significant demand, especially at 64, where that imbalance is. That's on the 3-day time frame as well, and that's the only demand area left that needs to be filled.
Yeah.
After that, it's up only. I would have thought.
Yeah, and again, it's a level that if you said, on Twitter that you're waiting for this level, you're gonna have 100+ people say good luck on that. And I love to see that, because again, that mentality is what will get you hurt in this game.
I'm going to drop this chart in the Discord quickly, actually, because it's got the imbalance. I've put the imbalance in green so people can see it themselves. So I'll do that now.
Okay, yeah, I'll check it out.
I'll put it in.
Let me check out what else people are saying here. So, most conservative price at the end of this year and next. Okay, so I mean, it's a challenge to actually do that, to price predict. Let me actually look at let me check out what the fib levels are here, because I don't think that by the end of this year that will even be close to the all-time high, to be completely honest with you. If we do go on a major run, if we have a major bullish event, I could see between the 190 to like the $283 level being tested, but it all depends on how much buyer demand. Now, if we're talking about the end of 2023 into 2024, again, it's kind of the same range that I have, just simply because I don't believe that a lot of altcoins are going to start making new all-time highs. But if we do have that wave 5 in 2023, like most analysts are trying to predict, anything is really possible. I don't really try to predict the prices in the future. I more so kind of think about, okay, well, realistically speaking, if we go to the, fib outreaches here, we could easily outreach to about like $1,800, which would be the 4618. So that's like, and again, by the way, the 4618 is a common fib level that we outreach to. It doesn't mean that it's guaranteed to, but I'm more so looking at like $1,000 at one point in time being my major sell target. Am I selling all of my QNT at that level? No, I'm going to be holding a long-term bag of QNT probably forever, just because I look at this almost like a second opportunity at Bitcoin, fundamentally, but also utility-wise. But that's my idea around like some of the prices for it. I don't really have, a major time frame prediction on QNT. Let me see. Any idea when Q&T staking is coming? Minimum amount required? I have no idea on it, to be honest. I mean, I don't even think that there's like H-bar staking, for an example. You could stake on third-party like Stater and stuff, but I don't even think that staking is available yet on the mainnet. So a lot of the staking opportunities take time, especially around like regulatory clearance. So thank you so much for the live stream. Very interesting. Yeah, definitely. Also, I don't know if Encrypt will be up for this, but we could do a live stream every so often. I don't know what his schedule looks like, but we could definitely try to do some a lot more. If you guys do enjoy the live streams, I know that recently you guys have been loving them, so definitely look into that. It's all up to Encrypt. So
Sure. Yeah, we can sort something out. Someone's just put in there about the Dow Jones level. Actually, they're absolutely right. Fortunately, the Dow Jones did close above the danger zone, should we say, which is 29.2 to sort of 29.5. It closed just above it, so there's a slight bit of deviation underneath. But at the moment, we're safe on the Dow Jones for now.
yeah, and I've also been actually looking at the dollar.
No, don't even talk to me about that dollar. That thing's doing my head in.
Oh, so it's actually it was sitting at 113, which is wow. I actually did not. I didn't know that. Honestly, I was oblivious to the run up here, but we have been looking at the 120 level on the dollar actually, on the macro view. So for anybody who is watching this actually, that doesn't know the correlation between the dollar, a strong dollar means weak risk asset classes like crypto and equities. A weak dollar is, money essentially going into risk on assets like crypto, equities. And you could kind of see this correlation between March of 2020 all the way to about like our recent high in November when we started to really kind of break out on the dollar. But that's why, for the most part, price action has been stagnant on a lot of on crypto and stocks. The 120 level is the level that I've been eyeing because that's when we topped out back in 2001. So, yeah, that's a massive macro view on the dollar, and it's crazy that we're almost back to those levels on the dollar. But if we do reject off of that, then we will most likely see a major run on crypto, and that could actually ignite a new bull run. So that's what I've been looking at in regards to the dollar.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. I think the dollar's due a cool down. I've just put a ton of charts in the Discord as well, so people want to check them out. Any others that you want, just at me, and I'll probably be around for, I don't know, till about 7:30 my time, which is like 35 minutes. So if anyone wants any high time frame charts or anything, feel free to at me and I'll do them for you.
So yeah, if you guys aren't a part of the free Discord, so I'm actually going to real quick so this invite expires in 7 days. You guys are more than welcome to join the free Discord. There's a ton of stuff that we throw in there. There's a ton of free content. Like Encrypto was saying, he just posted all of these macro time frame charts here. You guys can check them out. It has some levels to watch for. These are great for insights on what could happen. I say could because guess what? Nothing in this market is guaranteed, but TA only goes so far. But for the most part, this is a great viewpoint on a lot of the charts that we are aware of. If you guys do want to see more charts, and if you want to actually request one, definitely join in on the free Discord. I know that a lot of people have been having some issues verifying themselves. Make sure that you are verifying yourself to become a verified Crusader. It will automatically update on my screen, and then I will be able to make you guys a Crusader. That way you can actually see all of these charts, respond to them, and all of this is for free. So this is like, basically free money, if you will. Most people will charge you $5, $10, $100. I've seen so many crazy things out there. So definitely join in on that free Discord. Definitely go check out Encrypt on Twitter. I know that I've said it 100 times, but seriously, go check him out. Incredible insights on the market. And the craziest thing is that he's not even at 1K followers. I mean, compared to what I've seen on Twitter, where people have 30K, 50K, 100K. It's ridiculous. Incredible insights on the market, very in-depth views, and like I said, he's doing a ton of free content for the Discord. Should definitely be in there. Um, but yeah. So I see a lot of people asking me a few other things. Um, why is Casper my biggest holding? Um, I think
Because
it's
you're
more.
so underwater.
What was that?
Because you're so underwater, you've had to DCA in.
Yeah, I mean, I am underwater on a lot of my Casper buys around like the 10-cent zone. I haven't sold any of it. At 20 cents, it just wasn't really enticing me to sell. I think that Casper is my biggest holding simply because it's one of my biggest bets in this market. And, you know, whenever I look at something and it feels risky, it feels like I shouldn't do it, I just do it. And Casper is one fundamentally wise that has a great sort of path ahead of it. Not only that, but the team has been updating, what they are doing, what they're building. Casper has been making a ton of noise recently with a lot of events. Again, they've been building a community, strong community as well. Um, it's just one of those assets that it came out during a weird time in the market. Some could argue that the May period for crypto was actually the topping point. I've actually seen that being said. Um, to
Oh,
me,
it definitely was.
yeah,
In terms of the amount of action and volume wise, that was certainly the euphoric peak, I think.
yeah. So, and if that's the case, Casper did have its ICO during March. So you're looking at 2 months after March, when the market essentially topped euphoric wise. The run up in November was essentially a scam run. It was a major bull trap, or a bear trap, I should say. But when we really kind of look at things happening around this market, I'm looking at tokens that not only had a weird launch, like A0 for an example. Like Aleph Zero is a token that a lot of people think is a scam, but it's also a very new project, and it hit $3 during a bear market. So these tokens that I'm looking at that are my biggest holdings, that are tokens that I feel comfortable, accumulating, they're just tokens that I think didn't get the time to shine. So in the next major cycle, if they continue to build, if they continue to make noise, they will ultimately blossom into, a 100x opportunity, or, maybe a 50x opportunity. So the upside is, you never know.
Certainly don't. I'll put a CSPR chart in as well. I've actually got one. It's just underneath resistance. OBV is increasing as well though, so should pop.
Yeah, and that's another one that I've even been. I mean, I've been going heavy into Casper recently, so it's just one of those things that I just feel it's so low. It's so low, and even running back to 20 cents, you can make a ton of money. So it just makes sense.
Is it still only on Huobi?
Um,
Or is it-
they do have it on. Let me actually check out the charts for it. I usually do the USDT on Huobi. I think that that's the one that has the most price data, and you could actually see how rough this chart actually looks. I mean, from the ICO to now, it's been one massive downtrend with slight increases in price. Like for an example, the November top, which was about 25 cents, almost 24. It's like almost 24 cents actually, I should say. Um, but it's been a massive downtrend, and recently, we it looks like it kind of bottomed out in June. Could we go lower from here? I mean, it's possible, but you could check out the EMAs on it, trading right below the EMAs. Looks like it's kind of coiling up, tightening on the chart. A little bit more volume in, and we might be able to pop. And I'm looking at the next major EMA here at about like 4 cents. So that's my target right now. I mean, going off of the fib levels, you could argue that we could go all the way to about 5 cents, possible. But yeah, I've been accumulating this one pretty heavy.
All right, last one. So someone put, can you check out link and see if we're starting? If you're seeing what I'm seeing, is it a triple top or a head and shoulders shown on the 4 hour chart? Zoom out. is my reply. I actually bought a ton of Link at between 590 and 6, and I've not sold any. I think it's due a run. It's been in a bear market for like a year already.
Yeah, Chainlink is, and again, there's another great indicator of the topping point for crypto actually being in May. Chainlink topped in May. No new all-time high for Chainlink after May.
Nope.
And by the
But
way, fundamental wise, I apologize for interrupting you real quick. Fundamental wise, Chainlink is one that has a massive ecosystem that has been growing for years. And in 2020, the DeFi summer, that's when Chainlink really started to erupt in price and also ecosystemal growth.
yeah, Bitcoin can actually sort itself out. Link will be in double figures very soon.
I see somebody
But
mentioning API 3 is a Chainlink killer. I've actually looked at API 3, comparing it to what Chainlink is. I don't really think anything is a killer in this market. I think that that's a big misconception around this market is that people think that it's going to be like a one size fits all for everything. It's just not. You got to remember, if everyone's idea on what crypto's becoming comes true, there's going to need like we need to have mass collaboration between a lot of players. It's not going to be all right. Yeah, Chainlink's going to run everything. API 3 is going to run everything. Qnt is going to run everything. It just doesn't make sense to think like that. That's why I always say like, although I have my largest holdings, I'm still extremely diversified on a lot of my utility gems. But with that being said, I hope everyone had a great time in here. Thank you to everyone that has stopped by. We've honestly almost been streaming for an hour, and I remember at 32 minutes we were like, all right, yeah, 5 minutes, but it's all good. It's crazy how fast time goes by in crypto, but like I said, definitely go check out Encrypt30 over on Twitter. Definitely deserves a lot more than what he has. And with that being said, I appreciate everyone for stopping by. I hope that you all have a beautiful day or a beautiful night wherever you guys are in this beautiful world. This has been Nick. Peace out, guys.
cheers, ciao.